Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday. I'm going to call it the fifth Tuesday, not like the fifth, like the five, but the fifth because I'm live. I apologize for being a little bit late this evening. We working people, so we trying to make sure everybody can get on one accord. But without further ado, I got my peeps back with me for part two of Watch Your Mouth. We're unpacking the words of power after growth. So last week we unpacked words. This week we're looking at after you grow, the things that you notice, how are you handling dealing with those words differently? All right. So I got Jay up top. I got two J Love, and I got JD at the bottom. And Tori from Keep the Faith with Tori is going to join us in a few. She's on the audio, but she'll join us in a few. Feel free to be interactive. Feel free to place your comments. We're going to read them. I'm going to post it. You're a part of the show as well. All right. So thank you for coming on. And like I said, let's get it started. So I'm going to start it off and pose a question. My question is, okay, have you ever said something that you wish that you could just take back? Anybody can answer. And I might go first, but have you ever said something you wish you could take back, or you realize just how powerful your words were? And then you were like, ooh, probably shouldn't even handle that way. So it's a whole lot of that because, we're not perfect. You know what I'm saying? We're not perfect. So it's a lot of times when you say something and you really didn't say it intentionally to be harsh or to be mean, but just by the way the person reacted, you're like, maybe I said that in a way I probably could have said it differently. So a lot of times where I am with it is um being a teacher. I'm going to say that I'm a teacher. And sometimes when you working with kids with emotional disabilities, sometimes when they say something smart out the side of their neck or the side of their mouth, you sometimes forget like, ooh, that ain't my child. I can't say that way, or just answering a question from them that I expected them to know and they don't know it, so then I gotta go back and say, you know what, I'm sorry. Like the way that I'm asking you the questions in a sarcastic tone, because I think that you should know the answer, is not really cool, you know. And they call me Miss Sandy, some call him Dr. Sandy, and I'm like, I'm sorry, and then I go back and I say, how can I help you? Please tell me what part of this, whether it's math or it's reading, which words do you not know, or what part of this problem do you not understand? And that's a better approach that I can take, because a lot of times when you use words or you say words or you spit it out, it's only coming from your perspective. You know what I'm saying? This is the part we talk about after growth. Before the growth, um, and let me just put this disclaimer out there. It's not to say that we're perfect. It's not to say that unpacking words after growth, you catch everything. You're still going to make mistakes. You're still going to stumble and fall. But the biggest thing is, when you catch it, are you open to fixing it? Are you open to apologizing and making things right? So that's a lot of the unpacking the power of words after growth. Growth doesn't mean like you're not making mistakes. It just means that you checking yourself before somebody else can check you, right? So anybody got a story they'd like to share about a time you said something that you wish you could take back, and how you handle it or how the other person handled it?
I'll take that one.
All right.
I think I'm gonna take it a little deeper, right? And like you said, it's all about growth, and we never stop growing. So it's
Absolutely.
not that we have all the answers right now. And hello to the audience.
For sure.
Um,
We
I
got
would
some viewers
say
on here.
the thing I would say is, again, knowing the power of words before growth. It's like when you don't know what you have inside of you, the things that you can say is manifest into the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So I've said something that it's almost like I prophesied. I'm not gonna lie. I felt it in the Holy Spirit must have dropped it in my spirit. And I
Right.
was like, I see this going in this direction. And years later, it went in that direction.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I didn't realize how much power that I had in my tongue, how much insight that I received that I
Right.
was holding on to and that I knew or I felt, I would say, because you don't know everything. I felt that this was going to happen. This was going to
Right.
come to pass. So knowing the power of words, you have to know. Like I said, power of words is you can speak life or death.
Yes, you can
So
see
I
life.
spoke up a situation that happened, and I wish that I didn't state what I stated because it's
Mhm.
not something I wanted to happen.
Right.
However, it was destined to happen because it happened. There's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
So
Right.
with growth, I'm very mindful what I speak into the atmosphere. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very mindful of what I say and who I say it to in the tone that I'm saying it. Some people don't really respond well to like text messages. You know, you can come off in a good way, but then it could be received differently because there's no tone through text
Absolutely.
message. So
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend for those in that situation, send a voice message.
Right.
Technology is up to date now. You know, send a voice text
Right. I
so
was
that
about to
way they
say
can
that.
hear your tone, they can feel your energy, and it's
Yeah.
not misunderstood and misdirected.
Right. That's important, right? Because like you said, the text message, my gosh, that text message will just start a whole path down the wrong road that you didn't even mean. You know,
Hmm.
the way you send me a text, the way I might read it, it just ain't the same. And you probably didn't mean anything by it, right?
Hmm.
Or you meant something and I take it in a totally opposite way. So, like you said, technology has given us the opportunity where we can send a voice text, right? Or you can even send a voicemail because you can send a message without ever calling somebody, because some people don't like confrontation, right? So, Tori or Jay, y'all got anything y'all want to share? Something you said that you wish you could take back?
Oh, I'll let
Hmm.
ladies
I
first.
said a lot
I
of
like
things
going,
that I wish I
I
could
like
take back.
going last. We can't break it up. I keep going last. I'm not gonna steal Miss Queen
Oh
Tori's.
Lord, y'all, Tori, oh my bad, man. Look here. This Joker got a pen in his hand already. Last
You
week
know
he
it.
was taking
You know
notes. This week he got, and the pen is gold. So we in trouble tonight. Go ahead, Tori, because
gotta
we in
get it.
trouble.
Listen, I was just gonna say, there are a lot of things that I've said that that I wish that I could take back. And what's up, Marvin? Marvin, don't start no trouble. This is not my podcast, so don't start no trouble on Sandy podcast.
Listen, Marvin, speak your truth, baby. Speak your truth. We're good. We can handle it.
Listen. So I've actually said stuff in the past, but sometimes some things can be so detrimental that when you say it, the damage is already done. You can apologize, but the person, when it came off when you said it, like I've said some things out of anger, but
Mm-hmm.
by the time I calmed down and tried to apologize, the damage was already done.
Right.
And I've actually, um, there are some relationships and friendships that I've actually probably messed up because of things that I've said. So um I learned from that. And now I think more so when I speak. And there have been things that people on the flip side, there are things that hurtful things that people have said to me that was detrimental and hurt me as well. But I forgave. But some things, even though I forgave, it didn't necessarily mean reconciliation. Like there are
Right.
some things that were said because you know how sometimes people say things and it's something that they always wanted to say and then they
Yeah.
finally say it. Even
Yes.
though I forgave them, I knew that this wasn't a person or people that I needed in my life. So
Yeah.
even though I forgave, I didn't reconcile. And there were some relationships that we were able to reconcile, but sometimes depending on the damage, the relationship is not going to go back to the way it was originally.
Right.
So it's all a process. Like Jamie was saying, it's an ongoing process. That healing journey is ongoing. So
Yes.
but it makes you think. I know for me, it makes me think more. So when I say things, so now when I say things, like I said on the previous podcast, I hear things from a healed space, and like I say, I'm in the process of healing because it's ongoing.
Right.
But
Right.
I hear things now from a healed ears instead of wounded ears.
Right.
Because
And that's
before, when you're hearing from a wounded place, every little thing can trigger you. Every little thing can set you off. Every little thing you'll find yourself being offended.
yes.
Every little thing you make it about you, and it ain't even that serious sometimes.
Right.
So when you start to
Right.
heal, you be like, and then now when you're listening to people from a healed space, you realize it's not that person. It may
Mm.
be a spirit that's on them. So
Hmm.
be you don't be hate the person, but sometimes you can hate that spirit that's on them. And just
Right.
instead of lashing out, just pray for that person and move
Yeah.
on. And
Yeah.
that's all I
So
gotta
we're gonna
say.
come back to that though, because I'm gonna let JD talk in a minute, and then we're gonna come back to that because that's a whole other level of growth. Like understanding it's not that person and being to differentiate it's not that person, it's a spirit. So you're talking about a whole other level of growth. And then once Jay gets done talking, I'm gonna come back because we got some comments in the chat. Marvin is talking about some bringing up some gender biases or some gender comments, which I'm here for it. So let's go. After Jay speaks, I'm gonna post Marvin's comment. We're gonna address that.
All right. So good evening, everyone.
What's up?
Almost, you know me, I love going last because um, several times a lot of people I hang with or the new people that I start hanging with always say it's better to be quiet. It's better to speak last than to speak first. Right? If I said, yeah, speak last and speak first. And the reason being, sometimes if you say something, people will take it one way. If somebody else says the exact same thing, because they're not emotionally attached to that person, they'll hear the other person first, right?
Right.
So exactly what Tori said is that it's that emotional, it's emotions and how to handle your emotions and how to do it. So
Yeah.
when you mentioned what Marvin said, and Marvin's in the chat, I'm gonna steal your thunder for a little bit.
All right.
Marvin said, women cut you with words way harder than men, right? My new thing is I started taking out men and women. I started saying people because I've heard women who said some things, and I'm like, dang, I'm glad they ain't talking to me. I had to dry my eye for that brother when I heard that word. I was like, I'm sorry, bro. I feel for you. And I know personally, I have said some things to people, like I said last week. I've said things to people, and my words to this day still hang. It's still ringing in their head because when we talk, that's the first thing they bring up. Remember when you said this? I'd be like, man, I wish I didn't say that. But it's two things. I wrote down a few notes as you guys were speaking.
Go for it. Go
All
for
right,
it.
the
Go for
first
the
one
hip.
is women and people. You hit on a note. You said doing the gender bias. I like to say taking out women do this and men do this. I think because both people or both genders do the exact same thing. It depends on where they're coming from. As far as like Miss Tori said, if you're listening with a hurt ear, you're gonna always get triggered real quick.
Right.
Somebody could say, like I said, "Good morning, how you doing?" And to them, you're saying, "Good morning, you're saying good morning, how you doing?" But they're hearing, "Good morning, how you doing?" And you're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" I'm just saying, "Good morning." What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Because you're already in that hurt space. That's exactly how they're going to hear it. All right. And then going back to the women and men thing, emotional. They say women are emotional, and men are logic. Right. That's the way that we different from each other. So,
Right.
and this is a conversation. I kid you not. I don't know how these things tie together. Me and a coworker of mine was talking about what if men can listen emotionally and women can start thinking logically.
Mm.
Imagine how much more peaceful the world would be, right? So, hey, why did you not do this on your way home when you knew you was coming home? You came home and then went back out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because emotionally she's saying, I want to be here with you. But he's saying, logically, I wanted to come home because I forgot my money, forgot my keys, forgot whatever. Now I got to go back out. But if the woman thought
Mm-hmm.
about it backwards, it would not even been a conversation or been an argument. So that's my biggest thing. Women can think logically and men can start thinking emotionally. It'd be probably be a lot more peaceful word. My last one is my own thing I want to add into it. I took this from the military training that got me through a lot of crazy times, and I help a lot of soldiers through. It's called ACT. I kind of flipped it around: action, consequences, and thoughts. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people hear some things and automatically they react to it. So they have bad consequences, and after that consequence happens, then they start thinking about it. Dang, maybe I should have did that differently. Right?
Right.
But the real way a lot of people should start thinking about things is your actions, your thoughts, and then your consequences. So somebody do something, you think about it, let it marinate. You don't have to answer right away. And then you respond, because your response could trigger different consequences. How
Right.
you respond to people is definitely how you can control the situation, right? And it's not so much as trying to control the conversation, it's always for understanding at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I think everybody, again, I love going last, I'm gonna keep, I like the way everybody tied together. And again, the biggest thing, watch your mouth, unpacking the power of your words after growth. Everything that everybody said, it's all after growth. We all can acknowledge that we made mistakes.
For
We all
sure.
can acknowledge that we're not perfect. We all can acknowledge where in a relationship or a conversation, we were the people who caused a problem. Had we
Mm-hmm.
changed our responses or change our tone, change our words, whatever, we could have controlled all of that. So that's my
Right.
piece on it. I'm going to stop there.
Right. Definitely control being the person, being the person that said something, but also definitely controlling the way you react to people, right? Because if you're responding to a person that attacked you from a place of emotion, and then you now in turn jump back and you're responding from a place of emotion, this is what we talk about, the after growth, where you're able to step back and stop, get the understanding. And even though you are offended, you're still able to stop and think. And that is the difference, I think, between responding before you grow and then responding after growth. Because you're like spitfire. Before you grow, you're ready to bam, 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 bam. No matter what you say, I got to answer. So this is a lot of what communication skills are. Some people, and we probably all of us do it. Sometimes you listen to respond because of those emotions, and you're not really listening for understanding. Whereas when you flip it to after growth, you are listening for understanding, because you're in a space where you're also checking your emotional intelligence, like Jamie touched on last week. You know what I'm saying? So when Marvin is on here, and Marvin said women use words to hurt you, and that's the difference. All right, because like you were saying earlier, women are emotional creatures, men are logical. So now if you flip it, because I want to go back and touch on that. If you flip it, and then women are now thinking logically, and then men are thinking from a place of emotion, I hear you saying that you think the world would be peaceful, but I don't know how we would, if we just switch the roles, the same situation might just happen, because now you have men that are emotional, that needs to not only understand from emotion, but also go from understanding. So I hear what you're saying and I can respect what you're saying, but I feel like the problem is still going to continue, especially when, I won't say men were not built for emotion first, because we're all human beings. It's all in all of us, right? I feel like I am an emotional person, but I also feel like I am very logical. And sometimes the logic that I have, because I feel like I see things 10 times down the road, right? So that's something I got to check, because I feel like I see, like, I am not a bottom to the top thinker. I'm a top down thinker. Like, I see the problem ahead, and then I'm doing the process backwards. So while somebody's still trying to figure out how to get there, I'm already there. I already figured out how that problem needs to be solved. And now all I'm doing is coming back and telling you this is how we can get there. But growing, coming backwards, is where I got to practice patience. Because just because I already see it and I got to wait on you, it could make me a little edgy. Because I'm like, come on, like, how come you don't see this? How come you already don't see this? Like when I'm driving, I'm not waiting until I get to the stoplight for me to decide that I'm going to now get in this lane for me to go left. While I'm driving, I'm already looking, okay, I know this is a light I'm going to be in. I'm checking these cars in this lane, checking this car in this lane, and I already know how I'm going to maneuver, right? Because I'm a top-down thinker. I'm not a bottom-to-the-top thinker. All right, so I feel like even if we switch it and men become emotional, women become logical, now you have us in a place where, again, we still have to come to an understanding, because we're like, why didn't you just call and say, cash at me or Venmo me some money, instead of you wanting to come back here to get the money, right? Because that's the world we live in. And now you're all emotional about it, like you don't understand what I'm saying. I wanted it, bop, 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 bop. So at the end of the day, this growth thing is so hard, right? We're not going to sit here and act like unpacking words after growth. It still hurts. No matter what, it still hurts. It hurts me if somebody says something to me. It hurts the other person if I say something to them. But most importantly, after growth, when you can feel, when you say something to somebody and you feel your hurt and their hurt, that's going beyond being even empathetic for me. Like that's a big part of growth for me, So it's just hard. It's just a hard place to be. Trying to do this after growth is hard. Marvin said the Bible says be the bigger person. Marvin says the Bible says be the bigger person, but he said, well, I'm not there. I'm not in there, Marvin, and that's okay.
Right. So
That's
I
okay,
would say
Marvin.
with that, like, in switching the roles, like you said, I don't think that will be like a different outcome. It's just on a different sex.
Right,
So it's switching from one person to the next. So how I would look at it before growth, it's like, okay, you done talk to me this way for so long. Now I done build up a wall. Okay. So when you say stuff and I feel a different tone, I know the way you talk. And now I'm just, okay, I'm being defensive.
right.
Right. So with growth, you move from being defensive and playing defense to playing offense. So,
Mhm.
like you say in a basketball term,
Yeah.
you think from the top down.
Mhm.
So with being in the offensive rhythm, but instead of being defense, you're like thinking, okay, this is what's going on. You can see it clear. You're on the outside looking in. Now I already see where it's gonna go. So what I can do, you thinking what I can do to make sure that this conversation is received the way that I'm actually pushing it out.
Right.
Right. So I would say with growth, that's one thing you have to realize, that you can change the dynamic of a situation. You have to know that individually you have that power within you, that you can turn around a situation before it even starts. You can catch a situation, or if you see it moving in another direction, you can be that one to catch the situation and turn it around.
And it's
So I
quite
think just
interesting.
knowing.
It's interesting that you say that, because Marvin just pretty much hit on exactly what you said. Women and men see the world differently. We can't ask each other to see things the same way. We do see the world differently, exactly, and this is where we have to compromise. Because I mean, Marvin, I'm with you on that. I mean, we're not going to see the world the same way, because that's not the way that we were made up. The genetics of the way that we're made up, we're not going to see it the same way. But that's where we come in and talk about understanding and compromise when you're in a marriage, surrendering, being selfless. And that's where that communication comes in. Tori, you were going to say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was laughing at Marvin last comment.
Marvin,
Marvin,
you know
see what I'm
Marvin
saying?
is here for it. First, Marvin said when he say women, he not talking about all women, but now he out here saying especially black women. Well, you know we can't talk to y'all crazy. Lord have mercy. Well, Marvin, you know what? The thing about it is, y'all say y'all can't talk to us crazy. We already know it's coming. So this is what we're talking about, the growth part. If I know it's coming, pause, let you get it off your chest, get my
Oh
thoughts and
goodness.
my mind together, and then let's go from there.
Yeah. But
Right.
here's what you said though. And we're laughing at Marvin, but realize this. Marvin is speaking from, I'm saying he's saying this from a realistic standpoint, right? But
Mm-hmm.
back to your comment, Doc. The biggest thing about that is doing it from a healed place, from a healed place. And like I said, so I work with some people who deal with substance abuse and substance abuse counseling way back when I first got in the military. And the doctor that was a substance abuse counselor helped me understand who I was. I didn't know I had PTSD. I didn't know I had anxiety. I didn't know I had, you know, ADHD, whatever else you want to freaking claim and throw in that bucket. But when Marvin says that, we're talking about doing it from a healed place after growth. A lot of people still don't realize that they're broken. They don't realize that they're hurt. And as much as we say, hey, we're healed or I'm doing better, I tell a person, yeah, I'm healed. I'm probably not. Because I'm telling you, my new boss says he's always at 99 and it take about that much to get him to 100. And I was like, sir, I'm right there with you. I thought I was the only person. Now I know I'm not alone. But because of that, I try to now mind what I say and what I do. Now, after I blow up, oh yeah, I feel 100 times bad. I'm like, dang, maybe I shouldn't have went that way. Maybe should have, take some of the lessons that I'm talking about here and apply that in that exact moment. So I think a lot of people, we have to realize that we're still hurting. We got to realize that we're not always going to be perfect as much as we sit here and we talk about this and, and try to fix or guide everybody else. I think
Right.
this forum right here is probably one of the best therapies a person can do. When
Right.
you can speak and you can be free and the people to your left, right, above you, to the left, right, are not judging you because we're all speaking from a place of we all want to do better. We all
Mm-hmm.
know we screwed something up. And we all
Right.
know, I put it in here because I got to use it. We all know we're ready to pull up on somebody, right, Miss Tori?
Pull up.
You're going to pull up in the
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah.
In the right way, right?
You can keep talking. I'm gonna put this up here because this is a good comment. I like this.
Yeah. And exactly. And I kid you not, like even in the last week or so, I had to do exactly what Marvin put on here. I didn't realize Marvin was a Green Bay fan. I'm gonna leave that alone. That's for another chat. But
Oh boy.
it's realizing I thought it was Eagles. I couldn't see. Then I saw the little G. I was like, oh man, I gotta stop agreeing with this guy. It's realizing that is a perfect point. How broken are you, right? You don't realize how broken you are, because
Right.
you may, like Miss Tori said, you're responding from a place of brokenness that you don't even know that you're doing it. And you're hurting the people that you're talking to, right? As you're talking to a person, I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you did that. What were you thinking when you did that? The thing was, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
In the moment, it made me feel good. So that's what I did. And I'm speaking for self at this point.
Right.
A lot of mistakes that I've made in life came from feeling good in that moment. Like you said, you think down the street, Doc G. I don't think down the street sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like, this is where I'm at, 2:00. This is what makes me feel good. This is what I'm doing at 2:00. And then come 7:00, I'd be like, man, this probably was a bad idea. I probably shouldn't.
That was bad.
Yep. So like I agree with Marvin 100%. I think everyone's broken. They just got to realize how broken they are and
Right.
where they're at in their place of healing in their own process. And that might help them save a lot of different relationships, save a lot of arguments and themselves really. Because you could really put yourself in a downward spiral, that slippery
Uh-huh.
slope. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's harder to climb out. It's easy to go down that slippery slope, but it's very hard
Right.
to come back out of it.
Come back up.
Yeah.
So here's something I share with people when I speak to them, depending on what the conversation is. So when you talk about Marvin says everyone is broken, how broken are you? Okay. Here is something that I haven't done, but this is something I want to do for myself. And I've expressed it to a few people and just having conversations when people come to me and they want to talk about life after divorce, XYZ. Okay. Part of my growth process is I feel like I am healed and I'm still healing, right? I could talk about the situation that I've been in. It doesn't upset me. I can hear that person's name. I'm not upset. But here is a challenge that I have for myself on my growth journey. I am in the process of wanting to find a counselor that I can talk to about what I've been through. Not somebody that knows what I've been through, a counselor that doesn't know, that could care less about what they're going to say to me about my feelings, whether I'm right or I was wrong about something. And I want to go through what I've been through in a marriage and what I've been through coming out of a marriage, going through being single, because I want to check myself to see how whole I am or how broken I still am, right? Because when I talk about with other people, I feel good. But is there something that's going to trigger me? Okay. So while I'm talking about the power of words after growth, can I now sit and listen to somebody say to me, well, when you said this, or when you did this, or when you know that this person did this or said this, right? Am I able to now be clear about how I feel? Or am I going to still be in a place where I realize that I am still broken and I need to heal? You know, so for me, a part of why I want to do this is a self check, right? Because I'm on this podcast and I'm talking about growth, you know, and I want to be a person that walk it like I talk it. You understand what I'm saying? So that's just a personal thing for me. When Marvin said we're all broken, but how broken are we? I feel like I'm healing, but I do know as a human being, I feel like there is still something out there that could be said to me that just breaks me down. And I am okay with being broken because I want to be healed and I want to be whole. So that's just a cell check for me. So when you talk about going into things after growth, it's like I'm being intentional. I'm going in with clarity, right? I'm listening to your tone. I'm listening to when you say, what you say, and how you say it. Okay. So that's all a part of, I feel like, when after you've grown and you understand the power of those words, can you handle, even though you have clarity and you're being intentional, are you still able to put that now on yourself when somebody's speaking to you from a place where they're not healed? You know, so this growth thing is easy to talk about when you're the person that's on that journey, but it's a little bit more difficult to deal with when you're dealing with a person that does not feel whole, that still feels broken, and is still shooting words at you from the hip. Because it's not just about what you say, it's also, do you have the mental capacity, like we said last week, and the emotional intelligence to just take it and still respond? Like I had a professor that says, respond from a place of love, you know. So that's very, very hard for anybody to do. So that's the part that I want to work on me, being able to still hear somebody say stuff to me and I can still pause, I can still think, and I would love to be able to respond and not be upset, even though what you said to me was a dagger. Now when I get there, that's the shana na. Listen, I'm there. That's the
That's
shana
more.
na for me. Listen, I'm getting there.
Yeah. Also, too, I know we think about like being broken by someone else. But oftentimes I do see situations where we talk to ourselves crazy. We have
Mm,
our own insecurities. You know, we don't believe certain things ourselves. So when someone else say it, that's where that trigger come in at. Not really want to use that term, but that's where the feeling and the emotions come in at, because you can resonate with it.
right,
So it's like, how are we speaking to ourselves? What are we saying to ourselves to build us up so we don't allow anyone to tear us down?
right, right. That's a big thing. That's a big part I have to grow to. Self-sabotage. How do you change self-sabotage? You know, anybody got an example? Go right for it, because my biggest thing for me is weight. Everything I see, everything I do, I'm like, I like this outfit, but I don't like the way I look in it. People be like, Sandy, you look like you're losing. I don't really see it, but when now I'm being intentional and I'm like, Sandy, I could tell that you're losing weight because you working out. Thank you. And I'd stop there because I still have that thing where I want to say more, right? But I realize this person is pouring into me, and it's a person that you trust. There ain't nobody gaslighting you to make you feel good. It's a person that you always talk to that's seeing your process. So yeah, self-sabotage is a big thing that we try to break after the growth as well.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at the comments, and it looks as if I don't know what's the deal with Facebook, but I don't know. Are you able to see it still streaming from my end, from your end, Sandy?
Yeah, I'm only seeing Marvin though. I don't see anybody else. Marvin's
But
the
I'm
only
saying,
person.
can you see that I'm still streaming? Because it's giving me an error message. It says something Facebook stopped the live or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it still shows a check that you're still streaming.
Okay, cool. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I'm glad Jamie said that I am guilty of that self-sabotage. I will actually sometimes I can meet people, whether it be friendships, relationships, and sometimes this person can genuinely be coming from a genuine place, but sometimes in the back of my mind I'm like, do they have ulterior motives? And I
Hmm.
like shut it down before it even gets to an opportunity to progress, because
Right.
in my mind I'm like, no, this ain't going nowhere. And I
Hmm.
actually had a friend of mine tell me, you bad at self-sabotaging. So I'm just like, so I just try to listen. I just try to give people the benefit of the doubt these days. But I was very good at self-sabotage. And I was very good at like you were saying, Sandy, when someone tells you, make compliment you, because I ain't I'm not skinny. I'm a little hippie.
You're
So certain
healthy,
things
child. You're healthy.
so certain things I wear, I feel like, oh, I look wide in this. I don't look, you know what I'm saying? I look wide. Certain things, and like I wear black a lot to make me look smaller, but certain things it makes me look like I'm so wide. But I was looking, I see where I've lost some weight, so I'm getting more comfortable in my skin. But I'll have people tell me that too much, you look good. What do you see? And then a guy that I was dating, I was there's a dress that I had, and I said, I feel like I gotta change. So he's like, why? I'm so why? He said, but you with me though. But you with me though. He's talking about, I got you. He's talking about, I don't see what you see. You look good. And I'm good at giving compliments, but sometimes I'm not able to receive them because I'll self-sabotage bad. So I'm glad Jamie mentioned that, because I'm bad about I'm working on it. I've gotten a whole lot better, but I would, self-sabotage a lot. And then there were, like, say a particular job I may want to apply for, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm qualified. And it's like, when you put that in the atmosphere, guess what? When you're telling yourself you're
Mhm.
not qualified, guess what? You don't get the job.
You're not gonna be qualified.
So
You're not
now
gonna be.
I tell myself, I speak to myself, oh, you got this. You got this. But
Yeah.
before, when I was saying that I wasn't enough or I couldn't get this, I didn't do it. Like when we went to college, Charleston, Sandy, math was not my subject. And I was like, I can't get this. And I told the teacher, I said, I cannot get this. And every
Right.
single time I said that, I failed the test, to the point where the
Wow.
end of that semester, she was like, you know what? You don't even have to come back to class. She said, if you're okay with a D, then I give you a D. And y'all know I took that D, right?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Oh man, that's funny.
Most definitely. Let me pose a question to our guy on here.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
What are some ways that you feel? I mean, we feel like men and women sabotage themselves differently.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways that you see that men self-sabotage? If you can speak on that.
Oh man. I always discredit Steve Harvey for thinking for all men. I can only
Mm-hmm.
speak for self, right? Because I always
Mm-hmm.
believe that everybody have different backgrounds, different things that make them who they are, right? That's just me. But for speaking for self, my self-sabotaging is not thinking of the secondary, third, and fourth order effects of it. Self-sabotaging for me is, and it's a good bad thing. I'm always thinking or saying I can do everything, right? And sometimes I really can't. So that's my self-sabotage. When I say, "Oh, I can handle this," and I really can't. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
me handling it my way, instead of asking somebody else what the best way to do it, that's my way of self-sabotaging. So sometimes the stigma has been put on, I'll say me, or I can't speak for men again, but the stigma of we can't show too much emotions because then we're looked at as weak. We can't speak our mind sometimes because then we're looked at as being combative, right? That can go for men or women,
All right.
right? So I think a lot of times the self-sabotaging part of it is like Marvin says, we want to say something, but we don't want the backlash of it. So we just sit there and take it. And the next thing
Mm-hmm.
you know, a problem that was this big is now this big because it's festered for so long, right? Putting up with things that we don't usually put up with. And now a problem that was this little is now this big. So I think for me, if it applies to all men, so be it. But I think the thing is not wanting to be overly too macho and not wanting to be underly too soft and sabotaging ourselves to compromise our character.
Right.
So it's
So
trying
we.
like it's trying, like you said, I wrote this down. Of course, I wrote it down, right? Is how do you identify a person, a hurt person? How do you
Mhm.
identify yourself that you're hurt? Because if you
Right.
don't know that you're hurting, you're going to continue to hurt other people. I did that
Absolutely.
for a long time. Again, I speak for self. I've hurt a lot of people. Not proud of it, but I always tell my son, I said, buddy, when I'm talking to you, I'm honestly talking to myself. And I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you what I did that I know I shouldn't have done, but nobody was there to guide me. Not
Right.
saying my mom was not there, my dad wasn't there. I just always thought I could figure stuff out on my own. And that was
Right.
my self-sabotaging. I'm gonna go back to the Bible. Like Marvin said, it's in the Bible, but it will say, wise men seek counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have
Mm-hmm.
friends that I speak to. I have married friends. I have single friends. I have
Right.
friends who own businesses and friends who don't own businesses. I have friends that if I want to talk about absolutely nothing, we would talk about garbage for 30 minutes straight. And it'd be a straight laugh session, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's again, for the men's side or for my side, it's just the part of knowing when, right?
Right.
Can't
Right.
he said it, men, we can't make a man think emotionally, but it's thinking, when can I think emotionally, or how should I think emotionally? If I answer that the right way. So I think for men, it's a stigma. It's a stigma of we self-sabotage because we think we have to be macho, or I have to
Right.
be macho, or I can't be too soft, or I can't say something because now I'm being insensitive. So
Yeah.
I think that's where
But
that's where the self-sabotage come from, not knowing when to say when or when to or what to do in certain situations
yeah.
instead of asking for help. So
Yeah.
if
And
that
I
makes
think also listening for you when you talk about men, knowing when can I be emotional, also being in a place of not being scared to be emotional. You
yeah,
understand what I'm saying? And that takes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot for a man to not be afraid to be emotional. And we've been talking, the world is now evolving into where they are really focusing on the mental health of everybody,
correct.
but really the mental health of men, and making sure that men also realize that there is a place for them to be emotional. There is a place for them to cry. There is a place for them to feel, right? Because a lot of when you talk about the stigmas is that, like you said, they don't cry, they're strong, you're
Yeah,
going to be weak. But now you're getting to a place where they're like, men, go ahead and cry.
yeah,
I've been in a situation where I've been around men and they've cried. I didn't look at them as weak. Really, what I look at them as is somebody said or did something and it hurt you. It is appropriate for you to be crying right now.
yeah,
You know, somebody said to you that they're going to not allow you to see your kids anymore and you break down and cry.
yeah,
That is appropriate to cry about,
yeah,
because the same way women love their kids, there are men out there that are very fully much devoted and love their children too. Even
yeah,
the men that are not devoted to their kids, they love their kids, and that emotion that you'll see more may come for what they may show to their children. So I think it's just, as we continue to evolve in the world, how does the world show up? How do women show up? Because how do men show up for each other where they feel comfortable and feel safe enough to be emotional and not feel like somebody's looking at me like I'm weak, and that takes a lot
Absolutely.
of growth as well. So the way that you see yourself is growth, the way that you speak to yourself is growth, the way that you explain to others about how you feel or what you see is also a big part of growth. So I do hear you where you're coming from.
Yeah, can I add one more thing? And I wrote it down. I think it's funny. I'm sorry. I find humor in the stupidest things, right? But I wrote down "man up." The term "man up" is one of those things. Is one of those statements that was placed on men. I've heard the term "woman up." You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of women now, because of the term "man up," now say, "I'm the strong, independent woman. I'm the strong, independent black woman. I don't need a man. I don't need this." And I heard a pastor say it when I was driving to work on one of the many freaking things I listened to. Uh, he was like, God created Adam, God created Eve. If it was a man to be by himself, he wouldn't have created Eve.
Right.
Simple as that. He wouldn't have made it where we need one another to survive. So I think if you can find a person, like you said, that you can talk to, whether it be a man or woman, that allows you just to freaking unload and not judge you, I think that's power in itself. I have
Yeah.
two friends that I can literally, I'm telling you, they probably know more nonsense about me than anybody else in the world, but
Yeah.
they never judge me. Like one of my friends says, he said, Delise, I don't care who you with or what you do. If you need somewhere to go to, you can come here.
Right.
And his wife goes, you better call me first, but you can still come here.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
it's having those friends where, like, when I was going through a tough time, like even with my last divorce, it was very hard for me. I had a friend, he came over, sat on the freaking couch beside me. We had some whiskey, we watched Cheech and Chong, like I said last week, and we said absolutely nothing. That itself was, breaking the mold. I didn't tell
Right.
him I was hurting, but he knew I was hurting.
For
So I
sure.
think sometimes when you said it, with responding from a place of love, if sometimes when a person's telling us something, realize that this person's yelling, screaming, crying, cussing you out, they're not cussing you out to say you. They may be cussing you out and the five other people before you, or two other people, three, two, one,
Say
whatever
that.
it is.
Say that.
They're cussing you out for the people before that hurt them, and you just triggered that one.
Mm,
That's a
And I
big one.
always say,
absolutely.
again, I speak from self.
Absolutely.
And I always say, I
Hmm.
think I went through everything to be here right now at 8:22 talking about it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it always is. Well, I'll go back to church again. Testimony, right? You got to
Yeah,
have a
Right.
test to have a testimony. I think that's a testimony in itself. So
it is. And that's
yes,
a very valid point. My gosh, you said a
Right.
mouthful when you say that.
yeah,
When they say smooth
Absolutely.
time, listen.
I,
Good
I
Lord.
can mark this
Yeah.
off. Check mark.
Yeah, because when it'd be the closest person to you, and that's why I said at the last podcast, like sometimes you just have to know that it's not you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in that moment, and they going off, it's like, okay, something happened. And I think that states back to what I said earlier about knowing that you can change the atmosphere.
Right.
So and if you know it's not you, then hey, let's talk about it. Again, let's unpack it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it comes to a point where you think you want to say to yourself, what type of environment am I creating?
Mm-hmm.
Am
Mm-hmm.
I around people who love me enough to know that I'm hurting without me telling them?
Correct.
Back to
Right.
what you were saying, you know, hold on, she don't look too good. Oh, she never does that. Someone who actually
Right.
pays attention enough to know when something is off. Again, with growth, that means, okay, I done took time for myself to self-reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Self-reflection is the main key to knowing and creating the best environment for yourself. And
Right.
on top of that, accountability. So are you taking accountability for the things that you've done and knowing the signs of what somebody else is doing and knowing that they're going down the path that you just came from and that you had growth upon? And then, to stay on top of that is obedience. Oh, she left already? Oh, it's obedience. I'm sorry, guys. I'm on a seminar, I'm on a retreat, and I'm all over the place. But yes, obedience as well. It's like sometimes we know what to do, but then we don't do it. We do the opposite. We do what we used to. We do what's comfortable. So sometimes it's uncomfortable to become
Mhm.
comfortable.
Right. Big one. You got to become uncomfortable to become comfortable. And that's a very hard place to be. Yeah, sure, go for it.
Got a question. I was gonna put it in the chat, but I just ask it instead. How do you ladies here identify a hurt person? Matter of fact, since we're talking about women and men and difference between everybody, how do you identify a hurt man from your experience? I can't, you can't speak for all women, but how do you identify a hurt man?
Me
I
personally, oh, go
identify,
ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say for me, the manipulation, the deflecting, the being a victim and constantly pointing the finger at you, never holding themselves accountable for anything. Everything is your fault. Like you don't see anything that you've done. Like I've been in a situation where I told you what you did, what you said hurt me. And the very thing that I told you hurt me and bothered me, you continue to do it. Because and you knew that it hurt me, but yet you continued to do it.
Right.
But then when I loved you from a pure place, you didn't know how to receive it.
Yeah.
So that's how I recognize it.
Hmm.
And I recognize sometimes people will they'll isolate themselves and they'll fall back. So it's a lot of things that I've noticed.
Right.
But you just continue to love on them, but at the same time, you realize, is it worth you allowing them, you trying to be patient with them, but is it worth you being them continuously hurting you? Is it really
Mm-hmm.
worth it?
Right.
In a lot of cases, in some cases it's not.
Right. I
So
feel like
then
the
you
only
have to,
time it would be. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead, Tori.
No, and I said then you just have to realize you just got some people, they're not going to receive the love that you
Right.
have to give, and you have that
Right.
love that you have for them, you got to in turn love on yourself like that, and just hope and pray that one day they will get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the only way I feel like it's worth it. When you talk about your situation, it's worth it if you see this person intentionally, but not just intentionally, but actively wanting to change what you're saying hurts you. It's not them changing, right? Because you changing me. It's me realizing that in order for me to show you the love that I feel for you or I have for you, or if I want this relationship or this marriage to go in a certain way, then there are certain parts of yourself that you're going to have to change. So that's just that for me is worth taking the time. I'm not saying it's worth you being hurt, but it's worth you taking the time. If somebody's showing you they're intentionally and actively going to respond to your hurt, then you're going to be there. But for me, if I have to think about how do you identify a hurt man, I think one of the big things, and it's not all men, but for some men, you can identify if you've been with that person, the way that they respond to being around their family, whether it be their mom or whether it be their dad. How they respond to wanting to be around their family kind of shows me, or kind of gives me, I won't say it shows me, but it kind of gives me insight to some of how you were brought up, some of what you're carrying, some of what you're feeling. So, pretty much in a nutshell, your relationship with your parents or your family tells me a lot about if I can identify a hurt man. And then another thing for me is when a man is when a man is unwilling to, when we talk about growth, and it goes in that sense, when a man is unwilling to hear what he has to say, I mean, hear what you have to say, not for yourself, but for him to be a better person. I'm not talking about being a better man for me, being a better boyfriend, being a better husband. I'm just saying, as a friend, I could look at you and say, Tori, you know what? This is what I see. And I can give you my opinion to help you boost yourself up. Like you said, stop self sabotaging, you know. But when you see a man that is unwilling to change for the better of himself, he is hurting. And I know he's hurting because I say this to people all the time. And this is not just about men or women. Having to change, right? To come from a place of where you're hurting hurts. When you have to address hurt, it hurts because that means not only do you have to be accountable to what you feel, but you also have to pretty much go dig in that bag and pull up feelings that you've been hiding and covering up for a long time. You know, so I identify in conversations that I've had in relationships when you are unwilling to talk about the things that make you a better person and you want to live in that facade. I know that's a person that's hurting, and eventually is gonna be self-sabotage, but it is in the form of sabotage in your relationship.
Yeah.
If you follow what I'm saying, you know. So that's just me identifying from my experiences of what I've been through.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Sandy, because like if you have conversation with, I would say any men, you will be able to kind of, I guess, feel like you said, like how it was brought up, certain situation they were, they went through. And if you're having a conversation with them and they're like running away from that conversation or, redirecting the conversation to something else, like, hey, this is a touchy subject.
Yeah.
So something like that, you was like, okay, yeah, something went on. And whenever you're ready, then you will come out and have that conversation with me. So I think it's about being open.
Mm-hmm.
A man that is hurt is not really going to be open, not
Right.
even open to like certain conversation, but open to feedback,
Right. Right.
open enough to even try to understand, because it is mine. He's like, well, you don't know what I went through, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody, what I went through is not the same as what somebody else went through. Whether it's the same situation or same scenario, it's going to be a different feeling.
Right.
It's going to
Right.
be, a different, any atmosphere could be different.
Yeah.
It could be so different that it's detrimental, and everybody trauma, it's not going to make sense to everybody. And I
Right.
will also say, if they have like insecurities, they don't trust you, or you say you're going this way, really? Why I call you? Why you answer? Certain response that
Yeah.
you receive is like, okay, you've been hurt. Somebody said they was someplace they weren't, or they did something to you, and that's another touchy situation. So again, you have to think about these things like, okay, I heard a response to that. I'm not going to say anything. But again, when you get that open window, like, hey, he's conversating with me. He's unpacking some things. Okay, so
Right.
now let me slide in there and be like, okay, well, such and such, and bring that situation up where it's a smooth transition and he's comfortable in a comfortable element enough to explain.
Right.
So that will remove some of those insecurities, because if we have that conversation, then it won't be an ongoing situation.
Mm-hmm.
So some things you want to address right then and there, and some things you want to allow someone that time and that space so they can come out and explain and express how they can express. Because
Right.
sometimes a man is not going to be able to pour out the way that a female will pour out. You know, it
Absolutely.
takes time. It takes time to kind of break things down. And sometimes you just got to have that patience.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest thing I focus on for myself, and I'm asking God to prepare me, because the cycle of not being, let me just give an example. All right. You're in a relationship and you're man or woman, and either
Hmm.
person is hurt. Okay. So when that man is hurt and he is coming at this woman constantly and she's firing back, you get into a place of disagreements all the time. You get into a place of discord. You get into a place of where you probably don't even want to be around each other anymore. Right. That's a big part of growth that I'm trying to get into, because here's the thing. When you get two people going at each other like this, there is no place for this man or this woman to ever feel comfortable to come and talk to either person. So that's what I said earlier. Growth is if you can get to a place where somebody is coming at you, and because you've grown as a person, you can say, I hear that, it hurts, but you know what, I'm gonna try to look at this from a place of being on the offense, and I'm not going to be on defense. Like, I'm just going in my mind say that you're not attacking me. You're speaking from a place of hurt,
Thanks.
you know? And that is a very difficult place to be in, because once you get to that place, man or woman, that is building a person's trust to know that I can come and talk to you. I'm not saying let anybody disrespect you. I'm saying if we can get to a place where somebody is speaking because of hurt and we can recognize it, but we can still stay emotionally intelligent to pause and think before speaking as a woman, I think that that is going to be a place, a soft place for a man to land when he finally decides, you know what? I've been going at her and she still speaks to me from a place of love. This is somebody I can trust. This is somebody that I feel like I'm maybe ready to unpack in pieces some of the things that I'm going through, and the same vice versa.
Yeah.
And that is something I am conscious of, because, like I said, when I get into this next relationship that God I know He has for me, I want to be able to stay calm in situations where somebody is just losing their top. It doesn't mean that I'm not upset. It doesn't mean that I like what you're saying to me. It means that I am able to respond to you respectfully without yelling or giving you the same energy that you're giving to me. Because at the end of that conversation, I still want us to be able to say, we're still at a place of love. And I know you heard me. And it also leaves the window open, I think, for somebody, a man or a woman, to come back and apologize. You understand what I'm saying? Because bam, 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 everybody's mad. Now you got to wait some time to apologize. Whereas that person might be like, you know what? I apologize for the way I spoke to you, because I noticed what I was saying to you was not right and it was hurtful, but you were still speaking to me from a place of grace. So now it opens the door for that person to say, I want to apologize because you didn't give me that same energy that you gave me. So, me personally, if you're talking about personal, that is something that I am working on with myself. And I work on it in my career because I work with kids with emotional disabilities that don't care what they say to you, how it comes out, and what they say. So I do practice that as I work, just listening and then not responding and shooting, hearing what they say, and then responding to them. So, we hitting this thing, like we get into this hour mark. Any closing remarks about unpacking the power of words after growth? Anybody?
I got
Just continue to be patient with yourself as you heal. It's an ongoing process, and give yourself grace. Not only do
Absolutely.
you give yourself grace, but give others grace as well. And then, like I said earlier, about sometimes when you're giving a person grace, understand it's not them, it's the spirit that's on them.
True.
We're gonna come back.
Yes, yes,
We will
yes.
talk.
And I would say also, like, just be mindful and, speak to someone the way you want to be spoken to. And we talked about unpacking the power of words, and we've been there where, we will speak to somebody the way that they spoke to us.
Hello.
Now with growth, we've able to sit back and relax and like never want to speak that way again. Because we're in a season in our life where we want to speak different. We want to walk different. And we want to speak to everyone like they're someone. And we don't want to add to anybody's hurt
Right.
because words are hurtful and they're painful. So if you go in the mindset that everybody matters and you don't know what someone is going through, then and you also want to speak to them the way you would want to speak. If you say this to someone, just think in my mind, before I say this, how would I feel if somebody said it to me?
Right.
So again, that goes back to the self-reflection, accountability. So watching what we say, watching our words. Because a lot of people, I see often that a lot of people don't have the capacity to feel emotional and feel love the way some people who experience love and give love can
Right.
receive. Some people just don't have the capacity to receive it. And I
Right.
think with us, with growth and sharing this to the audience, you can be that person.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can build that capacity within somebody else, what they lack. Build up that strength. Continue to build them up. If they
Yeah.
talk down about them, they're like, don't say that. Just say that, hey, you're working on that.
Yeah.
Or did you get this done? No, I didn't. I'm not gonna get it done. No, say I haven't got it done yet.
Yeah.
So those positivity into people, because me personally, that's love for me. Everything I do, I wanna spread love.
Yeah.
When I work with my nonprofit, is all about love. When I talk to people, I want to spread love because love is an intimate spirit. We're going back to the spirit. This is just my personal quote, that love is an intimate spirit that connects with the Holy Spirit.
Hello.
So your love spirit and the Holy Spirit, you won't have nothing to worry about.
Right.
Let the
Right.
Holy Spirit fall on you, in you, and through you.
I hear that. I like that. I like that. Love spirit connect to the Holy Spirit. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
JD.
Emotional awareness. And I wrote this down. The biggest thing is both parties need to realize that both people may be coming from a place of hurt. So when you have two hurt people, that is like, oh, why are you always, or why are you always? Instead of saying, you know what, we're both hurt. We both have pain that we're pushing off on one another. We both have triggers that we're triggering one another back and forth. Right. So it's just being aware that sometimes, like you said, it's not you, it's not them, it's you, it's not you, it's them.
Yeah.
So, like you said, speak to people how you want to speak to you. You can't talk to somebody nastily and say, no, why do you talk to me like this? Because that's how you talking to me,
Right.
You're reciprocating. But then after a while, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And I'm getting tired. Right. I don't want to hear it anymore. So just realize that a lot of people, both parties are coming from a place of hurt. So give more grace to each other.
Grace.
Yeah, be more graceful. So that's that.
Awesome. Thank y'all. This was part 2, and y'all did amazing again. You know how people like to go somewhere and say, like I was just on a cruise, the Bahamas owe me nothing. But let me tell you, y'all don't owe me nothing. Y'all did that. Y'all brought it. Y'all were here. Listen. All right. So for anybody that's watching, whether you watch it tonight or you watch it later on, we unpack the power of words before growth and after growth. Give yourself grace. Give other people grace. Let that love spirit align with the Holy Spirit and speak to others the way that you would like to be spoken to. So with that being said, y'all have a good night. Thank you for joining us on the 5th Join us next week, same time, same station. I love y'all. Thanks for joining me on here and making this thing rock.
All right. Have a
Have
good
a
one.
good night.
Good night, everybody.
Right.